不是一个虚拟学校，是一个实体学校。实体学校呢，通过云端入驻了10几所学校哈，第一批现在已经是第2批，又是10几所，然后2025年要到100所。然后给我冲击力特别大的呢，就是我们在研究人工智能教育的时候呢，我们都说要以学生为中心，个性化的学习。个性化就是小，但是呢，在他的报告里呢，一再提到了大学习场域、大同学圈、大教师圈。我们希望这样一个小的需求对大的模式的研究能够持续发展。再一次感谢龚校长。我们主题报告有请最后一位发言人，克里斯蒂娜·伊什梅尔女士，她是这个伊斯梅尔咨询公司的创始人，原美国教育部教育技术办公室的副主任。有请。
Hello, ni hao, salam alaikum. My name is Christina Ishmael, and I'm so happy to be here, so thank you. Let me first start by saying that I am here representing the United States of America, and I previously worked at the United States Department of Education, where I led the Office of Educational Technology. I'm excited to share multiple things that we put out and published during my time at the U.S. Department of Education. This office, the Office of Ed Tech, has been around since 1996, when Congress decided that they would create an office just for technology and education. We did this primarily through our flagship EdTech policy document, and it is called the National EdTech Plan. The newest version came out in January of this year, and there are 3 things that it talks about that I have heard as themes from every country that has already had the chance to share. The digital divides. There are 3 digital divides. There is the digital access divide, the digital use divide, and the digital design divide. What does that mean? The digital access divide. Right here we know that we need access to technology, devices, connectivity. We also need access to instructional resources, those that are available in multiple languages, as well as those that accommodate students with disabilities. We see here in this graphic, we have a lot of work to do as far as access is concerned. Like you've already heard, many other countries say that we also are working on access. The United States is as well. There are 17 million students in K-12 without home internet. That is a lot of students across the United States that still cannot access their learning at home. Then we talk about the digital design divide. This is giving teachers and professionals ample time, resources, professional learning to be able to learn how to create incredible learning experiences that use technology. We don't always have time, we don't always have the resources to provide that to students and to our teachers, but this is incredibly important because we know that when we design for students with disabilities, when we design for students that speak multiple languages, we design for everyone. So that is why we call it the digital design divide. Then we have the digital use divide. We all use technology. Everyone pull out your phone really fast. Show me your phone. Yeah, you all have your devices. We all use technology, but we all often use it when we consume things, not necessarily create or produce, which is exactly what we want in K-12 education. So we know that we want to create the opportunities for students to be able to collaborate, to create, to think critically, to work with students in other countries. That is where we want to see an active use of technology, not simply just listening or sitting back on a computer watching YouTube or TikTok, but what can we do with the technology? And then in November of 2021, President Biden signed the Digital Equity Act. This is the first time ever in the United States where we actually have a definition of digital equity. This is very important in our work. The condition in which all individuals in the United States and the communities have the information technology capacity needed for full participation in society and economy, and we might even say our democracy in the United States. So everyone needs that access. But we find that many schools, it is their job to be able to provide this. We have to work with communities, we have to work with parents, we have to work with caregivers in order to make this happen. Here are some important numbers for you to understand what we have going on in the United States. Right now, there are over 9,000 EdTech products, 9,000 EdTech tools. There have been over 57 billion interactions with students and teachers using these tools, 3.5 million students that we've captured using these tools. Don't worry, we have 54 million students in the US, but 3.5 were captured as part of this data set, and 492,000 teachers. Then you'll see over here on the right, how many tools are we actually using in a classroom or in a district? That means multiple schools. 2,739 EdTech tools. That's a lot. That's a lot. And then a student will be accessing 45, and a teacher will be accessing 49. They are not all the same, and yet we expect students in kindergarten, what I used to teach, in kindergarten to access 45 digital tools, and then the teachers to access 49 tools. We have a lot to make sure that our teachers are prepared to do this, and our students are prepared to do this as well. So let's talk about artificial intelligence, because why not? We all are here to talk about that. Here is the US national perspective. In 2022, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy put out the blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights. So for all of the folks in the United States, they said these 5 things should happen when you are using AI. It should be safe and effective. It should not discriminate unjustly. Data privacy and security should always be protected. You should know when AI is being used and how it affects you. And then finally, that you can opt out and interact with a person instead. There's a great example for many of you that travel. We have this in the United States. You have it here as well. I saw it right out in front. When your photo is taken, in the United States, you actually have the opportunity when you are at an airport to not have your photo taken. That is an option for folks in the United States. So these are the kinds of things that we are trying to help Americans understand when we are using things like artificial intelligence. This report right here, the Artificial Intelligence in the Future of Teaching and Learning, was the first report put out by the United States Department of Education. I am very, very proud of this report. This was released in May of 2023. We know that this technology changes hourly, sometimes daily, but we have a lot to share with folks in how we think about using AI in K-12. So we defined AI as an association or an automation. So it moves regular EdTech use from capturing data to helping detect patterns in data, machine learning. Then we talk about from providing access to instructional resources to helping automate those decisions for a teacher to then be able to help customize or tailor the learning experience for their students. And we also see down here, they are accelerating, expanding, and creating new opportunities and risks. This is my favorite part. You all know an e-bike, where it has an electric component. The human still has to be in control of the bicycle. So it is amplifying the human effort. That is how the US likes to think of AI. We do not want a robot vacuum that goes off by itself, but we want to think about it like an e-bike. You are amplifying or magnifying the human effort. The United States rejects the notion that AI will ever replace teachers. I'm going to say that one more time. The United States rejects the idea that AI will ever replace teachers. It can help teachers, it can help students for sure, but it would never replace the humans, the teachers in a classroom. We like to think of all of these core components when it comes to introducing AI in education. Right there in the center, we want to center our students and our teachers, making sure that they are at the center of these decisions. And then from the report, these are the 7 recommendations that we put forward. Emphasize humans in the loop. Humans have to be part of the process when we are using AI. Depending on your input, you can be helpful as part of your inputs. You can also evaluate your outputs. But everything that we use when we are using Gen AI, like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Bard, all of these large language models, we have to be able to review the content. Number 2 is align models to a shared vision for education. We are all here talking about smart education. We don't want to have a teacher standing up in front and telling you everything. So we need to rethink the way that we have our education systems working. Number 3 is design using modern learning principles. What does the brain science, what does cognitive science tell us about learning? Well, we know that it's not happening most of the time when we sit here and have students stare at us. And instead, we want to get them interacting and having choice in what they are learning. Number 4 is prioritizing strengthening trust. Many of the large language models and the companies that are creating these generative AI tools are in the US. That is a lot of responsibility. So how do we make sure that these companies are sharing and building trust with Americans and with any user that would be using it? We want to inform and involve educators. We want to include them. We want to focus research and development on improving how AI addresses context, because every context is different. And then, of course, for policy, like me, we develop guidelines and guardrails to keep learners and educators safe. So AI literacy. This definition comes from my friends and colleagues over at Digital Promise, and it is the knowledge and the skills that enable humans to critically understand, use, and evaluate AI systems and tools to safely and ethically participate in a digital world. This is one of the first definitions of AI literacy coming out of the United States. It is really important work, and I want to show you the diagram that they use. They have 3 different ways of looking at this. We want to understand, we want to evaluate, and we want to use. We want to understand the tools that we are using. We want to evaluate the content or the output, and then we want to be able to use those tools safely and securely. You will also see this image, which is important because you will see the different types of practices down here below. These are all things like data privacy and security, information and mis or disinformation that we can talk about with learners all the way from early learners, from little ones, preschool and kindergarten, to the age when they can actually start using these tools, because ChatGPT and many of these tools, you have to be 13 in order to use them. But we will still be talking about understanding, evaluating, using, always centering centering justice and our human judgment. We want to make sure that humans are in the loop. And then our overall goal is that active use. We want to interact, we want to create, and we want to problem solve. From the state perspective, we have 50 states in the United States. 22 of them have additional policy or guidance around the use of AI in education. This is important because at the US Department of Education, we help kind of set everything up And then the states will then push everything out to make sure that schools are doing this correctly. So 22 right now in the past year have released different policies and guidance to help schools. At the school level, we also see this. These are the things that we know schools want. They want policy language. They want guidance on how do we implement this in a classroom. They want professional learning. They want integration into their current practice. How can we use this for teacher productivity to help write lesson plans, to help grade? How can we think about using this with students for their learning? So this is what schools are telling us that they want from us at the U.S. Department of Education, from those of us that work in policy, and this is what we are working on now. The last thing I will share with you is areas of integration for AI within K-12. You will see that you can use AI, leadership and vision, policy, instructional frameworks, assessments, professional learning, student use, business and operations, as well as outreach. And then this is a scale for schools to be able to look at. Are we at the beginning stages, or are we further along and we're actually innovating with these things? This is a very quick overview of all of the work that is happening within the United States. If you have more questions or comments and would like to chat with me, I will be here for the rest of the conference. Thank you so much for your time.